like you tell us a bit about when you were born, your early childhood, and what your family life was like, influenced you in life, and what really drew you to God.
My name is Reverend Monsignor Bernard Ayodele Okodua'S. I was born in my village of Afuda, Uwesa, in Irua, in Edo State, on the 20th of October, 1943. My father was a catechist and a carpenter. Carpenter was his profession, but he did the catechist work as a voluntary catechist in the parish at Ijebu-Ode. When my mother was about to give birth to me, she went back home to our hometown in Edo State, in Irua, where I was born. During the naming ceremony, she called my name Ayo, and that is a Yoruba name. Everybody else was trying to give their own names. It was like the story of John the Baptist. So, my father was contacted in Ijebu-Ode to inform him that his wife had delivered a son, the first son, and wanted to know what name he would give to the child. Strange enough, my father said his name is Ayodele, meaning joy has come to the house. I have an elder sister, so I was the first son. I presume that gave rise to that name, source of joy that they have a son in the family. My mother told me that after 3 months at home in the village, she came back to Ijebu-Ode to join her husband, my father. And there we lived a humble life of a struggling man, not a wealthy couple, but able to make a living from the menial job that he was doing as a carpenter. When it was time for me to start school, I was about 6 years plus. My father was transferred from Ijebu-Ode to Ijebu-Igbo. So we moved to Ijebu-Ode, which was an outstation of, we moved to Ijebu-Igbo, which was an outstation of Ijebu-Ode. And my father was, as it were, as a catechist, was also the one that conducted Sunday services. There was no priest there. There was a little house there, which is the mission house. And then there's a building, there was a building that was the school, the primary school. It was simply called RCM School. And that is where I started my primary school. The area was called Okeagbo. Okeagbo, Ijebu-Igbo. It didn't have a name other than RCM School, but it is now called Holy Angels Primary School. So I did my elementary 1 there. At the end of that year, my father was transferred back to Ijebu-Ode, and I did my elementary 2 in Ijebu-Ode. After that, I entered the standard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If one finished standard 6, one did what was called the Cambridge school leaving certificate examination. And once one would have known enough to even be a teacher in a primary school, in a junior class in the primary. The education then was of a high quality. To finish standard 6 was like finishing school certificate exam of today. By the time I was in standard 4, free education was introduced in the western part of Nigeria by Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Free education, which we now call primary school, was introduced in 1955. 1955, I was in standard 4. And my class was changed to primary 5. From standard 4, it became primary 5. By the following year, 1956, I was to do primary 6. After which, I would have done what we call the G2 examination. But somehow, it was at that time things started to happen in my life, which I didn't know it was God's own work. I didn't know God was at work in my life at that time. Somehow, I was able to cope with the studies at that level, primary school. So in my class, we had 3 examinations in the year, 3 terms. First term, second term, third term. The third term will end in December and we'll do promotion examination. So in January, we enter a new class. In that year, 1955, in primary 5, at the examination of the first term, I came first. At the examination of the second term, I came first in the class. But at the final examination, which was the promotion examination in December, I came 6th. My teacher, Mr. Oshijo, was angry that I did so badly at the promotion exam. He said to me, how could you first at first term, first at second term, now coming 6th at the third term? That he will not promote me to primary 6. I thought he was joking. He went to my father, who was a parish catechist, and reported to him exactly what he said, that I did not do well at the exam, and he would recommend that I repeat the class. When I got home with my report card and I showed it to my father, I said, Father, I came 6th in the class, but my teacher said I will not be promoted. But those who came 10th were promoted. Those who came 15th were promoted. Those who came even 20 were promoted. But he says, I will not promote. He said, I failed by having the 6th position. My father said, yes, since he said so, so it will be. He's your teacher and he knows better than you do. I said, Father, I did not fail the exam. He said, yes, you did not fail, but you did not do well enough. I thought my father would support me, but he didn't. He supported my teacher. At the beginning of the following year, 1956, I went to the class of primary 6, where my name was not in the register, but my classmates were there. So each morning they would call the register and they would not mention my name. But I sat down in the class. But in the school where my name was registered in primary 5, I was being marked absent. Since they would call my name and nobody to answer it. So after the first week, the class teacher went to report to my father that I wasn't coming to school. When I got home from school one day, my father said, "You have not been going to school." I said, "I went to school." "Where?" I said, "I went to primary 6 class." He said, "Where? You are not supposed to be there. You are supposed to be in primary 5. I cried and I tried to convince him that I would do well in primary 6. But he said, "No, since your teacher has recommended that you repeat the class, you will repeat the class. So go back to primary 5. So I went back reluctantly, and everything went this time as they wanted it to go for me. Since it was a repetition of the class, things were not really difficult for me in the class. So come first, come first, come first. That's what they wanted me to do. And that's what happened. So in that year then of my primary, repeating primary 5, as they expected me to do, I came first in the exam first term, came first in the exam second term, came second in the exam of third term. I cried because I said, "Oh, they are going to demote me again." But this time they let me go. My father said, "Well, you didn't do too badly, but you could have done better." So I was allowed to go to primary 6. So in 1957, I went to primary 6. After 2 months in the class, my father was transferred from Ijebu-Ode to Abeokuta. My father had joined the government work and the prisons department. They were prison warder. So the whole family moved to Abeokuta in 1957. And I continued my primary 6 class in St. Leo's Primary School. So there I finished my primary 6. By the time the school was coming to a close, students were beginning to make programs for their future or secondary education. They were beginning to write application letters or write exams, entrance exam to different schools. And there was a new Catholic school that was opened in Abeokuta at that time, St. Peter's College. So many of our students applied to St. Peter's College and wrote the common entrance exam or the entrance examination to that college. I was going to write the same exam. So I asked my father for money to buy the form, to buy the examination form. He said he had no money to give me. After 3 weeks, he called me and said, now he has some money, I should go and do the exam. So it is too late. The exam was over. So I did not do the exam. And so there was no plan for me to enter a secondary school. So while thinking about what next to do, having finished primary 6, an uncle of mine came to Abeokuta to visit my parents and suggested to my father that I should be sent to Lagos to attend what they call then something trade, to learn some trade. I didn't know what type of trade it was. I was told to go and learn. He said, but that's what it is. School. It's a school for training people for different trades in Lagos. I had never been to Lagos before at that time. I wasn't interested in it, but it was the only choice open to me then, rather than just sit at home doing nothing. Then one day in the evening of that, towards the end of that year, 1957, the parish priest of St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church at that time, which is the parish, came to our own church in Ibarra, St. Anne's Catholic Church Ibarra, which was an outstation of Itesi. And the parish came to celebrate Mass. I was the altar server at the Mass. My father was there as a lector. My siblings were there as members of the choir. At the end of the Mass, my father and the parish priest were exchanging pleasantries because they had known each other before at Ayodele. It was now for them meeting again in Abeokuta. So they were exchanging greetings and talking about old times and so on. And then I was standing and then beside my father while they were greeting each other, when they were talking, speaking big English, which I did not understand. Then suddenly he placed his head on my head and said, "Would you like to be a priest?" I was not expecting that question. Would you like to be a priest? I never thought about it at any time. It was never an option for me. Like say, I want to be a priest, or I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be a doctor. Even if I was asked what would I like to be in life, I'd probably not have mentioned a priest. That was because I did not know that it was possible for somebody like me to be a priest. My idea at that time of priests was that priests were specially created people, and they were probably specially trained in a place where nobody else lived, and then they were sent out after their training to minister in the parishes. So, because he was a white man and asking me such a question, I just said to my mind, this is the answer he expects me to give. So I gave him that answer. I just said yes. I said yes, I didn't know the implication of the yes. And he patted me on the head and said, good boy, good boy, good boy. And my father also just smiled when I said yes. I was thinking if I said no, he would say you're a bad boy. And he was happy with the answer. But that was the end of it. As far as I was concerned, one day, the parish priest, Father Coakley, came to our house with prospectus, list of items to be bought. He brought it to the house and handed it to my father. My father looked at it and said, what is this? He said, that's prospectus for Bernard, for going to the seminary. You want to be a priest. I said, just like that? So I saw the prospectus, I looked at it. There were a list of books. Then there were items to be bought, one bucket, one cutlass, a pair of shoes, a pair of canvas, two this, two that. I said, this is what they do in the seminary. I thought seminary was a place where they studied the Bible and celebrate Mass, and learn how to celebrate Mass. You see, yes, this is how you begin. My father said, I don't have money to buy all these things. My father said, buy the ones you can buy and leave the rest with what we do about it. It was only at that point, out of curiosity, I started developing interest. I did not do any entrance examination, no interview, just admission straight away to the seminary. Then I was to enter the seminary in 1958. But to enter the seminary, I had to be medically certified fit. So I went to Sacred Heart Hospital for medical checkup, for medical tests. And they did all the tests, and the doctor said I had chest infection. I had chest infection, and it had to be cleared before I could go to the seminary. So I spent more than half of that 1958 going to the hospital for treatment, for injections, for tablets, and other things. I didn't know what type of infection it was, but later on, I got to know it was tuberculosis. So I missed entering seminary that year because of this medical situation. So by the time I got cleared by the doctor that I was free to go now, it was already late for that year, 1958. So I just waited at home, helping my mother with her house chores and going to the farm to uproot cassava and make gari and fry gari, and then sell oranges and sell akara and all those things like many children would do in those days. So I did all that. And that year passed. So the following year, 1959, all the prospectus were then ready, and I entered the seminary in January of 1959. In the seminary, I didn't know where it was located. Father just said it's in Ibadan. I didn't know where in Ibadan. So he said, a seminarian on holidays who will be going back will take me along. So the seminarian was called Mr. Titus Okoro. He was in his fourth year. Fourth year was in class 4 in the minor seminary at that time. And I was going into class 1. So he took me along to Ibadan, to Kare. As I entered the seminary compound, I was expecting to see one big house where those for priests were locked in, where nobody goes out to see them there. Nobody goes to distract them or contaminate them or disturb them. That's what I was expecting to see. But I saw an open field, I saw buildings, and I saw children playing football. I said, what? I asked the seminarian, is it seminary? He said, yes. So who are these people in the compound? They are allowed to enter the compound to play ball, these children. He said, they're seminarians too. I said, what? I said, seminarian play ball? I thought they should be praying and they should be in the chapel. I said, these small boys, you see, are they smaller than you? I didn't realize I was a small boy too. So it was then I started thinking, that the seminary was a school, a secondary school, like any other secondary school, only that it has a special bias for spirituality and scriptures and all those things that has to do with seminary training. So I went in and settled in by the grace of God. Then everything started going on well. I became aware that it was a secondary school and I had to go to like everybody else. One question I asked the priest, my parish priest at Abeokuta, on the day he told me, he asked me the question, would you like to be a priest? And I said yes. When he brought the prospectus to my house, I asked him, how long does it take to be a priest? Till today, I don't know why he gave me the answer he gave. I am thinking that he probably didn't understand my question or he just wanted to tease me. He said 3 months. I said 3 months to prepare for the seminar, to prepare for the priesthood. I said, so if I enter the seminary now, in 3 months' time, I will be a priest. So I will go to the church during Sunday masses. After mass, I will go to the sacristy and carry the Latin book, because everything was Latin. I'll carry the Latin book, the Missal, and start singing the Gloria, sing the Creed. I will read the preface, because I had to hear the priest sing the preface, and that was what actually attracted me to the Mass. And I started studying the prefaces, thinking that that's what I was going to be asked to, that would be the examination. Sing a common preface, sing a hobbies factor, sing a Missa de Angelis, sing this. So I was learning all those things by myself. So when I got to the seminary, 3 months passed. There was no sign of priesthood. Only that they do examination, they go on holidays, do examination, go on holidays. I say, so do priests go on holidays? Say, yes, you have to study before you become a priest. So these are just preliminaries. Even after this one, we now start the real studies. So it is not 3 months then, so it is years. I'm mentioning this particular incident because when I think back the whole thing, why did he tell me it was 3 months? Is it to sustain my interest? Or if he told me it was going to take 10 years or 9 years, I would run away or something? Maybe that's why he told me it was 3 months. Or perhaps didn't understand what I asked him. But that answer encouraged me to continue in the seminary. So even after the 3 months and after the 6 months and after the 1 year, I said, well, since I'm here now, I'm going to stay put. Unless I'm sent away, I will not leave the seminary. So my dear brothers and sisters, I managed to go through the seminary, the secondary school part of the seminary training. At the end of my 6th year, when we finished our GCE and everything, the rector called us. The rector called us, that is my class, and asked us one by one. He asked us, would you like to continue seminary training? Would you want to go to the major seminary? Or you want to withdraw? He was asking so that we know whom to recommend to the major seminary so that we can prepare for our coming there. They will know how many students are coming in. So 10 went to the major seminary. In our very first year, 1959, when we entered, we were about 53 students. There were 2 classes of year 1. Class 1, that was class 1A and B. Together, we made 53 students. So by the time we finished in our 6th year, only 10 opted to go to the major seminary. So the rector recommended the 10 of us to the major seminary, St. Peter and Paul Major Seminary in Bodija, Ibadan. And we entered there in 1965. Other seminarians from other dioceses also came in that year, 1965, to start our fourth year of philosophy training, philosophy studies. After 2.5 years of philosophy, that's the end of the philosophy section of our training, we were all sent back home to our dioceses to go on what we call probation, 6 months probation. Now it is called pastoral year. It is now called pastoral year. It is 1 year. In my time, it was 6 months. I spent my 6 months probation in Abeokuta under Msgr Patrick Shomide, who was the parish priest then. At the end of the probation period, I returned to the seminary. The number had reduced. Some seminarians, some of my classmates dropped out, they didn't come back, but majority did. And we continued our theological studies, which we concluded at the end of 1971. So by the time we finished 1971, those of us that remained were 10. Out of the 26 who started, 10 of us completed the course, the training, and were promoted for ordination in our various dioceses. So 10 of us then got ordained in 1971 in our various dioceses. I was ordained in my home parish, Abeokuta, and I was the first priest to be ordained in Abeokuta. Archbishop Age, who ordained me, said he did that to encourage vocation to the priesthood from Abeokuta. Because up to that time, only 2 priests have been ordained from Abeokuta. That is Father Anthony Kehinde and Msgr Shomide. But after my ordination, there were many vocations that came up, and many are still coming up today. So now they have many priests of Abeokuta origin and for Abeokuta diocese. The Archbishop gave me an opportunity to go for further studies. And this time I went to Rome. He had asked me before where I would like to go for further study. When I asked him for the permission to do so, he asked me where we want to go to, and I had opted to go to Chicago because I knew a priest there who had contacted and who had made arrangements for me. But just before that arrangement got through, the Archbishop sent me a form to fill, which indicated that I will be going to Rome, not America. I accepted, and I found myself in Rome in 1981. I studied pastoral theology. I finished my program in 4 years and returned home. On my return home, even before I returned, a letter was already waiting for me of assignment to Abeokuta, St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church. So I worked in Abeokuta, carrying out my pastoral duties. Once again, Abeokuta had not had a priest for about 3 months because there had been a kind of a rift or some misunderstanding between the community and their parish priest at that time, an SMA priest, who then left the parish, and they were without a priest for about 3 months. So the bishop sent me there, as it were, to reopen the parish. And they were very happy to have me among them, particularly because I was ordained there. So many of them already knew before as a seminarian and as a young priest. My own family members are there, lived in Abeokuta, so it was like a homecoming for me. So I worked with them then, St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church of Abeokuta, from 1985 to 1988. We had a number of house stations, as usual, which I had to attend to, outside of Abeokuta itself. Well, sometime in 1988, I received a letter to return to Lagos. When I came to Lagos to see the Archbishop, he said the nuncio wanted to see me. The nuncio then was Archbishop Paul Tabet. I went to see the nuncio at the nunciature in VI, number 9 Infowashe Street. When I got to him, he invited me for lunch. I said, that was very strange. Anytime one went to the nunciature, it was for official business, not for relaxation, not for chop. So I went to a table with him. I was a bit nervous, but I didn't know what he was going to say to me. So at the end of the meal, he said, "You have been appointed National Director of Pontifical Mission Societies." I never heard those words before. You have been appointed the National Director of the Pontifical Mission Societies. I said, "What is that? What is that?" He said, "Go to the Catholic Secretariat and they'll give you the files. Read the files and you understand what it's all about." That was all. I went to the Catholic Secretariat and met Msgr. Ralph Anasiudu, who was the Secretary General of the Catholic Secretariat in Force Road, Racecourse. When I asked him for the files for the Pontifical Mission Societies, he said they are in Abuja, they are in Gwagwalada, that my predecessor had moved the office from Lagos to Gwagwalada because my predecessor was the former Secretary General of the Catholic Secretariat, who doubled as PMS Director. And when his tenure as Secretary General ended, he was now asked to take on the role of PMS Director as a full-time assignment. And that was why he moved this office out of Lagos to Gwagwalada, hoping to be able to operate better from there. So I had to go to Gwagwalada, the major seminary, St. Paul's Missionary Seminary in Gwagwalada, to retrieve the files. The nurse told me to bring them back to Lagos so that I would be close to him. So that's what I did. And it was then I started reading about PMS, Pontifical Mission Societies. It was then I got to know what it was all about. It was then I got to know that even me, have benefited from the subsidy of the political mission societies. I got to know about the different societies that formed what they call the PMS, how they were formed, who formed them, what are their duties, and so on. So the Archbishop then was told to give me an accommodation in Lagos, since I was coming from Abeokuta. And the Archbishop said, go back to your old parish at Idumambo, St. Patrick. So I went back to St. Patrick at Idumambo. They were happy to welcome me back. So I was then a resident priest in Idumambo. I was not parish priest. Father Peter Adeyemi, may God rest his soul, he was the parish priest. And he was also the Deputy Secretary General of the Catholic Secretariat. So when his tenure finished as the Deputy Secretary General, the Archbishop posted him to Ota, and then posted Msgr Shomide from Ota to Idumambo. So I became resident priest and associate priest to Msgr Shomide, whom I had known for many years as my parish priest in Abeokuta, under whom I served on my probation many years ago as a seminarian. While I was there, resident in St. Patrick, Idumambo, and carrying out my duty as PMS director, traveling to different parts of Nigeria, as it were, telling the bishops and the priests about the political societies, which many didn't know anything about at that time, which many didn't know much about. Some probably knew a little bit. While I was doing that, I was also appointed by the Archbishop in 1995 as the Vicar General of the Archdiocese. So I'll be assisting him in his own duties as the Archbishop. When he was not around, I would advertise for him. At the same time, I was doing a PMS work. In 1996, I was transferred from Idumambo to the cathedral as cathedral administrator. So I was PMS director, I was Vicar General, I was cathedral administrator, all at the same time. Three years later, my tenure as PMS director ended in 1999. It's a period of 5 years, renewable for another 5 years. So I started in 1988 from Abeokuta when I was brought back to Lagos to see the nuncio, and told me that I'd been appointed to that position. So after 10 years, my tenure was over. It was been over in 1998, but then the bishops had not decided who was going to be the replacement. So I had to wait for another 1 year. So in 1999, I handed over to Msgr Hippolyte Adigwe from Onitsha Archdiocese. Then I was transferred by the Archbishop from the cathedral to Regina Mundi, Mushin. So I was in Mushin from 1999 until 2002. In 2002, the Archbishop transferred me to Festac. So I was in Festac from 2002 to 2006.
Which parish?
Holy Family Catholic Church, Festac. It was the only parish then in Festac. There were outstations. The two outstations inside Festac at that time was what is now Church of Nativity, 6th Avenue, and Church of the Annunciation in 7th Avenue. Those are the 2 stations I opened in the first act. Then there was Holy Spirit Catholic Church, Ayodele, which is far away from First Act, even beyond Trade Fair, on the way to Badagry. It is now under Ijani Engineering instead of First Act Engineering, because it's closer to that area than First Act. Wait, it was part of the outstation of First Act at that time. And I will send my associate priest then to go to celebrate Mass there on Sundays. So the 2 major outstations of First Act developed very quickly, because the whole idea was to decongest the center for the family church, which had a large congregation. But the creation of those 2 centers did not really do much. Did not make much difference. The population still remained high. Thanks to Father Antonio Badino, who replaced me in First Act when I was brought to St. Anthony in 2006. He opened more of the outstations there. So we now have 4 parishes in addition to the center, in addition to Holy Family Church, which is the center. Then the other outstation at 11th Avenue, which is called St. Joseph Catholic Church, Ayodele, was opened by Father Badino. So while I was in First Act, in 2005, the Archbishop created the 3 regions in the Archdiocese. For many years, the Archbishop now Cardinal Okodua'S, have been advocating for creation of more dioceses in Lagos. But Rome kept saying that he was a young Archbishop and he could manage. And there were other requirements that have not yet been met for the creation of new dioceses. So because of the growth of the Archdiocese and the enormity of the pastoral need, the Archbishop decided to create 3 regions, what we call episcopal regions. There were Ikeja region, Lagos region, and Badagry region. They are now appointed 3 priests as episcopal vicars. They appointed Msgr Niagu as the episcopal vicar for Ikeja region, Father Edward Hartnett as the episcopal vicar for Badagry region, and Msgr Okodua'S as the episcopal vicar for Lagos region. But I was residing I was in First Act, parish priest of First Act. So Father Badino, who was the parish priest of St. Anthony, went to Cardinal Okodua'S and said, "We don't see our episcopal vicar. It's in First Act, which is under Badagry region. So there are 2 episcopal vicars in that region now. Where's our own?" It was then Cardinal Okodua'S said, "Okay, you go to First Act. Msgr Okodua'S, go to Surulere." That is how I found myself in Surulere.
Wow.
In 2006. It was because of that assignment as a episcopal vicar that brought me to Surulere, so that I'll be in my own region. Coming to Surulere, I did not meet the parishioners immediately I arrived here. because I came here sick. I was a sick man when I came to Surulere. I was sick from first attack, actually. I had chest pain, very severe one. When I arrived here on that day, I don't remember the exact date, in 2006, it was Father Peter Biefuna who welcomed me into the house. The following morning, when I was to say the morning mass and meet the parishioner for the first time, I couldn't get up to say mass because of the pain. So Peter Biefuna said the mass for me and told the parishioner, sorry, your new parish priest is not feeling fine, so you can't see him yet. After mass, he came to me in the room and said, Monsieur, let's go to the hospital. So he took me across to Dr. Chukwune's hospital at Optima. So Dr. Chukwune was the first parishioner I met. He was very nice to me, very understanding and accommodating. He admitted me to the hospital. I was there for 3 days. Then the Archbishop was informed that parishioners in Seattle have not seen their parish priest for 3 days. He's in the hospital. Why did you send us a sick person to come and be our parish priest here? So the Archbishop came to see me in the hospital and said to the doctor, please discharge him. Let us take him to Sacred Heart Hospital, Abeokuta. So I found myself in Sacred Heart Hospital, Abeokuta. The doctor there said to me, Monsieur, you'll be here for 6 weeks. I said, I have never been in a hospital for that long. Why would I be here for that long? 6 weeks? Say, yes, you'll be here for 6 weeks. You are very sick, you don't realize it. You'll be here for 6 weeks. I said, doctor, if I get after 2 weeks, would I go home? So well, let us wait and see. So, to cut the long story short, I was there for 6 weeks.
What was the diagnosis?
That I had chest pain, I had weak heart. I had a weak heart. Then with the other complications, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and all other kinds of things. So at the end of 6 weeks, I was discharged. In the meantime, while I was there, a few parishioners came to Abeokuta to see me. So I met them for the first time in my hospital bed. They said, well, we hear that you are a parish people, we have never met you. We hear you are sick in the hospital, so we want to say everything to you, to wish you well. I thanked them and they went back. Mrs. Pai, Mrs. Izopo, and one or two others were the ones who came. So in February then, I was discharged and I came to the parish. So that was when parishioners saw me for the first time. So I don't know whether to say that I was transferred here in January or whether in February. So it has been, my relationship with parishioners has been cordial. Practically in all the parishes where I have worked, I never had any problem with any parishioner or with any group in the parish. That does not mean that everything went smoothly. We are all human beings and we cannot please everybody. No, I must have offended some people by not doing what they want me to do. Others to have been stubborn and difficult to who will not listen to simple advice. So but that is the way of the human being. It's a give and take. Talking about my experience with the parish and with the parishioners, I say, well, I try to be a priest and to be a father, to be a pastor. I'm also conscious of the fact that you cannot please everybody. You cannot be smooth sailing all the time. But I thank God that He, God, who is the owner of the church, and the divine Son, who is the eternal priest, knew how to take care of his own flock and his own people. I was only an instrument of his. I did what I thought I should be doing. It may not have been perfect, but I did what was humanly possible. All in all, it has been a very rich experience for me as a priest. Because the one thing that I had in mind when I started to be a priest was actually basically to celebrate the liturgy. That was my major interest. To celebrate the liturgy, to celebrate Mass, to offer the sacrifice on the altar, to sing God's praises, to sing in Latin. That was my interest. That was why, even before I entered the seminary, I was already singing all those beautiful hymns. But when other things now joined and I knew I had to learn many other things, I'm happy I had the chance to do so. People have asked me, what are your low moments, what are your high moments? I don't really have any. I was never discouraged by anything. Studies, yes, I had my low moments in my studies. At a particular time, the formation team of the seminary thought I was not serious because I was carefree, I was jovial, I would sing and run around and talk to people, and they said that is not the type of priest we want. You are not serious. So the dean of students, then Father Charles Sani, called me and told me, look, you have to show more seriousness. Because the way I carried myself and singing on the corridor and whistling anywhere, they say, no, that is not the way it should be. People will think you don't know what you are doing. So I said, okay, I will change. He said, yes, good, that is the spirit, change, that's all. And that was a kind of a turning point for me. I said, not that I'm going to pretend to be what I'm not, but know that this is sacred ground and don't just walk anyhow, don't talk anyhow, don't joke anyhow. Well, it was part of my growing up, and I accepted the advice, and I think things went well from then on. God gave me the gift of singing, that is all I know. I'm not a musician, I don't compose songs, but I can sing. When you compose it and teach me, I will learn fast and sing it. Maybe that is why in my own time I was made the choir master of the seminary. In my final year in the seminary, I became the choir master. And it was during that time too the English liturgy was introduced. That we could celebrate in the local language, in English. We had a reverend sister who was teaching us this English liturgy, because it was new to many of us. But in our own time, it was all Latin. We used to sing the Vespers and sing the Compline, and now we have to do it in English. So there was a time I had a clash with her when I insisted it was going to be in Latin, and he said no, to be in English. So the rector called me and said, take it easy with her, take it easy with her. That was the rector said. The rector did not say, do it in English or do it in Latin, just said, take it easy with her. So somehow we got on well eventually. We learned all those things that we have to learn in English. And since then, it has been a good experience.
Was your father alive when you were ordained a priest? Your father?
Yes.
Because you didn't mention, you didn't talk about it. Was he alive? And how did he feel?
My father was alive, my mother was alive, everybody was alive, all my siblings were around. My father was happy about it. My mother had objected at the beginning to my being a priest. My mother objected because she said I was their first son, therefore I was the head of the family. I should not be the one to be a priest, let the other younger ones be a priest. That was her own suggestion. And I said, well, I'm not a priest here, let me even try. If I don't become one, I will still be the head of the family. And if I become a priest, I'm still your son. I will still do what I can do, provided it is not against the law of the church. So eventually she gave in. At the beginning she didn't want to, but she gave in eventually. At the beginning my father was not too sure. He didn't say yes or no. He simply said, well, if that's what you want. So when it was time for the ordination itself, then they say, so it is true. Then everybody woke up and everybody participated. They were all happy about it. And even my uncles who used to come to visit me in seminary and try to talk me out of it. A particular one was saying to me, well, we know you are studying, but after the studies you can go out and go and get a job and help your family and all this. I said, okay, let me finish the studies first, then we'll know what to do. So one day they got to know too that the study was going to end in the priesthood. They gave in. Everybody gave in. So everybody was happy. They supported. My father was happy. He was there. After I blessed the bishop, I blessed my father, blessed my mother. So, and then the 2 weeks of holiday that the bishop gave me, I went home and we had family get together and everybody came to entertain. And my uncle brought the village dance troupe. They came to dance and entertain and everything, so everything went fine. I find pastoral life very interesting, taxing but interesting. And I enjoyed every bit of it. And I thank God for the strength, for the good health. I must say relatively I enjoyed good health. And working with parishioners has not been a major problem, a major difficulty. We learned all those things that we mentioned at the Scene of Sacraments. We studied them in the seminary, we know what to do at any particular time. So, but I have learned over the years to relate with people one-on-one before doing anything. So even when one had to do all those, administer those sacraments, we still let people know what we are doing, why we are doing the way we are doing it, what is the church's stand about some of these things, and so on. We let people know about it. The church today is not the church that where the priest is up there, unapproachable, and the people are down there, and the priest look down on them there like
Master servant.
Like master servant relationship. But it's not like that. Because it's both the clergy and the lay people that make up the church. And one is not complete without the other. If there are no people to administer to, then the priesthood doesn't really have a relevance to the life of the people if the people are not there. So one is really a priest for the people.
I said we're talking about challenges and changes over the years, 50-something years as a priest. General, what have you been able to, the challenges and the changes?
By the time I got ordained, the liturgy had moved on in the sense of uh, enculturation and adaptation. Uh, it was not allowed. It has become allowed that we celebrate Mass in the local language. So the missal had to be rearranged to suit each area, and it did not. I won't call it a challenge, but it was a kind of an orientation that one has to now learn to do to fit into the new arrangement. It was not a major issue, actually. Uh, in our own time, there were not too many priests. Now we have a lot of priests around, which is good for the church. But our orientation in the seminary towards the priestly life seems to have changed a little bit. In my time, seminary training was quite strict, and no one could be sent away for even the flimsiest excuse. So we were conscious of that, and we tried to be good students. And that was honesty, both from the student side and from the formators side. They were not too close to us, but we know they were watching. In my time, there were only two Nigerian priests among the formators. Others were white, the Europeans, Americans, and the Irish priests. So we got used to them, though. Over the years, there have been what is called vocation boom. We are no longer in a time when they will beg people to go to the seminary like it used to be. I told you in my time when the father just asked me a question, would you like to be a priest? And I gave the answer that I thought he expected me to give. He was happy about it and started making an arrangement immediately. Today, if somebody comes to me and says, I want to be a priest, I will sit him down and say, tell me why. Why do you want to be a priest? Why do you know something else? Why a priest? What's the reason? Why do you want the priesthood? Invariably, they give you a reason that has nothing to do with the priesthood itself. So things have changed a little bit in the orientation of those who train for the priesthood. It's either you want to be a priest or you don't want to be a priest. It is true, scripture says many are called, but few are chosen. And you don't know who is called until you are actually called. It is when you are ordained, that is when you know you are called. One gets to know also that the criterion for choosing somebody is not a physical thing. God himself chooses, but uses the human being in making that choice known. I have found out that in the seminary, preparing for the priesthood, it's not necessarily the most brilliant student that becomes a priest. Not necessarily the holiest student, holiest by our own estimation, that becomes a priest. And even those that we think are rascally and they seem to be not the quiet people, are the ones that become priests and become beautiful priests. Today, I think people enter the seminary for various reasons. They have their own intention for entering the seminary. Other than becoming a priest a priest of God to serve God in the service of his people. Some will see it as an easy way out of problems. Once you become a priest, everything is given to you free of charge. You don't need to work to eat. When you want to travel, they just give you money to travel. You want to go for studies, you just carry your bag and go, everything is there for you. No, it's not really like that. And that has caused some people to get disappointed in the priesthood itself because what they expect it to be is not what they found there. The seminary, the priesthood is not a bed of roses. It's not a stepping stone to attain something else in life. It's a vocation, a life to be lived, a life to be sacrificed, a life of dedication, a life of total giving, total surrender. Give all that it takes and all that you can give. And because Jesus Christ doesn't come down from heaven to dictate to one person, do this, he does it through the bishop. The bishop is the head of the diocese. So when I obey my bishop, I obey Jesus Christ. So that is absolutely important for the authenticity of the priesthood itself, obedience to the authority of the church. Peter was told to cast the net in broad daylight to catch fish. And he said, we have labored all night. We didn't catch anything. We are fishermen. We know when to catch fish. But since you say so, I will do it. Obedience. That aspect of being submissive to the authority of the bishop and therefore of the church is a major crisis for many priests today who want to do things their own way. They want to lead the priestly life the way they want it, rather than the way the church wants it. That is what I see as a major shift from our own time and this present age that we are in. And I think it's unfortunate. Young priests have been, many young boys have been ordained now at a tender age. They have not grown to become fully matured men. In my time, the youngest person will be around 28 years. If they are very young, they will be around 76 years. Like Msgr Christopher Boyo was ordained at the age of 26 years. The rest of us were at 27, 28, 30, 33, 34 before ordination. So we are men. We are matured. And we have seen the world during our holiday period, during our probation period. We had the chance, we had the opportunity to say, I don't want to continue. Nobody is forced to be a priest. But nowadays, because of the way children grow up now, the age at which I enter secondary school is the age many enter university today. I was 16 years plus when I entered the Okodua'S seminary to start GS1. 16 plus. Today, at that age, some are already in university. So if somebody like that is in the seminary, by the time I finish seminary training, it's only 23 or 24 years. Still young. And he gets ordained. 24 years is a very tender age. But for somebody to be ordained at that age, that person must have been seen to be a mature person, a sensible person who knows what it means to be ordained a priest. Not too many are ordained at that age. Well, we can say age is not the determining factor. Somebody can be an elderly person and still be a foolish person. A young person can have a mature mind. Yes, that is true. But ultimately, it is the Holy Spirit that chooses. Jesus Christ chooses for himself. There is what we call personal formation, right? Ongoing formation for priests. There are seminars and there are conferences and there are retreats, there are recollections to keep the mind of the priest abreast of the situations in life, in the church, and his own growth, spiritual growth. Prayer is an important and indispensable, essential part of the life of a priest. A priest that does not pray is in danger of losing the priesthood, also a danger of scandalizing the people that is meant to lead to God. Because a prayer life for a priest, it cannot be dispensed with. One doesn't have to be ostentatious about it. One doesn't have to be hypocritical about it. But it should be part of one's own life. Know that you must be a prayerful person. That's the only way you can overcome the temptations of the world and overcome the difficulty that you face in life in general. With the world of technology, the world of advancement in science and everything, it is important to flow along with the world, but not be engulfed by the world. Flow with it, but not be engulfed by it. Because what is sacred remains sacred. You cannot water it down in the name of technological advancement. Personally, even if you if you download the entire missal into this phone and the Bible, I will not use it. I will carry the Bible itself and use. Because apart from those things you put there, there are other things that are here. So the Bible you download into the phone, the missal download into the phone, does that make the phone a holy thing? It's not. You say because the word of God is there, therefore this is the word of God in the phone. Is that the same phone? You have a call to somebody who you're asking the person, how was the party yesterday? How many bottles of beer did you drink? In the same phone. Well, some people think it makes things easier. Just carry your phone, everything is there. Just open it. All the hymns are on the phone, all the prayers are on the phone, all the lectionary, the lectionaries in the phone. Fine, it's true. But I'm expecting my own personal opinion. I would rather carry the lectionary, carry the missal, carry the hymn book and sing from there rather than use the phone. You say technology, yes. I like technology, but I like my liturgy too.
What message would you like to leave for our St. Anthony people? And what are the plans for the future? What do you plan to do after you retired? And what advice, which I think you've touched on it, but what advice would you give to the young priests? Okay. So just legacy, just touch on that.
Looking back 54 years, I cannot but give glory and honor and thanks and adoration to Almighty God for considering me, even me, worthy to have been his priest. And I cannot stop thanking him for sustaining me these 54 years. When I was young and I saw elderly priests, I thought they must have really seen a lot in life to have grown old, even in the priesthood. Even those who have spent 40 years, that is a lifetime. That's a whole generation period. I never thought I will also pass through that experience of not just 40, but even 50 and more than that. And I'm still alive, still able to talk, still able to move about. I think God has been very gracious. I want to encourage younger priests to let our own experience in life, which they can see, to be a motivation for them. Let it be an example for them that they too can get there. It is not by anybody's personal power. It's not by anybody's ingenuity. It is by the grace of God. It's by the grace of God. Going through all those hurdles from the age of primary school were all the grace of God, which I did not realize then. All those difficulties that came along when I was supposed to have entered the seminary were the grace of God. Even the small challenges I had as a student, when I had to be warned to sit up or get out, were the grace of God. To be able to go through the rigor of seminary formation, going through the academics, going through the spiritual, going through the physical growth by the grace of God. Going through all the pastoral life, the various parishes, and the outstations over the years, it's all by the grace of God. To arrive here now, after all those years, where the Archbishop, in his goodness, in his thoughtfulness, in his kindness, in his fatherliness, even though he's a younger person, to have thought it fit to say, it is time to rest. And I say, Your Grace, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have served and to come to this time when I can officially rest from active service. I never thought I would celebrate 50 years in the priesthood. I give glory to God for it. I will encourage the younger people to be dedicated to their priestly duties. Be dedicated. Be in the world, but not of the world. Don't compete with lay people in affluence. Don't compete with lay people in affluence. You are in the world, but not of the world. God knows how to take care of his own and of his priests because he chose them. He knows how to provide for them. Allow the Lord Jesus, who called you to the priesthood, to provide for you in his own way. Don't compete for material things. Don't compete for popularity. As for me, I want to be known as a priest that served God's people. I don't want to be known for anything else. but simply as a priest of God, a priest that served God's people. Because that is what the priesthood is for me. That is why I became a priest ordained for God's people. If I had failed in any aspect of that service of God's people, I ask God for forgiveness. But in serving God's people, like I said before, we cannot please everybody. So I will have offended some people by not doing things they want me to do, by not giving them what they want me to give them. And I ask them to let go, to forgive my own human weakness. And I also know that people have said terrible things about me, whether true or false, but also they are human beings and they're entitled to their opinions. I respect their opinions. I will ask them too to forgive those things that I may have done badly that will make them have such negative impression. The priesthood is not a bed of roses, but I thank God for bringing me this far. And I will spend the rest of my years continuing to serve Him in whatever capacity I'm able to. Fortunately, I'm going to a place which is within a parish community. So I'll still have the opportunity to serve, to continue to serve God's people. I'm not going to sleep every day for 10 hours or be watching television from morning till night. No. As long as I'm able to walk around, I will continue to serve. I will also try to devote some time to my own health because it is not too good at this time. It is one thing I've enjoyed very, very much, and I'm eternally grateful to God for good health. Until 2006, when I was sick and I went to Abeokuta Hospital, when I was transferred to St. Anthony here, that year, until that year, I had not been to a hospital in 44 years. The last time was 1962. From 62 to 2006 is 44 years. I had not been to any hospital for any sickness. And that's a special grace of God. So now that my health is a bit not as good as it used to be, I'm not complaining. I thank God for every opportunity that He has given me to know Him, to love Him, and to serve Him. And as long as I'm able, I will continue to do so to serve Him. I will continue to cherish the memory of all those whom I have met, who have gone before me, praying God to grant them all eternal rest. And I will continue to be thankful to all those who have also assisted me in my long journey through the priesthood and through life. All my good parishioners from the various parishes, the various societies of the church, where I have may have made some impact. The choir, especially, because that is my area of interest. I'm thankful to all those who have given me the chance to share the joy of being able to sing God's praises with them. And I'll continue to pray for them too. So, whatever opinion people may form about me, all I want to ask them to do is to remember that this man they called Monsignor Bernard Ayodele Okodua was a priest of God.
One final question. Describe yourself in one word.
Monsieur Okodu'a was a priest.